Welcome to the Moneyready Pensions Masterclass. And here to delve into the world of pensions with us, I am delighted to introduce Sarah Steele, who is Director at Better with Money. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, Helen. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Now, pensions are often quite a confusing topic, but before we get on to that, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do with Better with Money?
Yep, no problem. So yes, I'm the owner of a company called Better with Money. And what we do is we go into the workplace and we provide financial education for everybody, regardless of what role they have within the company. And the reason that's so important is because last year, the biggest cause of absence at work was actually stress, and most of that was because of financial stress. So anything we can do from Better with Money to help people understand their finances better and take their head out of the sand to take control of that, the better. So that's what we do.
That's great. I imagine you get a lot of questions about pensions. So what are the main misconceptions that people have around pensions?
Yeah, well, I think it's the fact that people think that they are boring and difficult, and let's not pretend, when I was young, I did too. But as I've got older, all I've learnt really is that pensions, they're just a savings pot. They're a pot that we put money into, our employer puts money into, and what we're trying to do is save as big a pot as we possibly can for when we retire, because it's that time when we don't want to work anymore, we're not going to have maybe another salary coming in, and we need a pot of money on which to live for the rest of our lives.
Okay, but if we're not going to retire for decades to come, why do we need to worry about and think about pensions now and today?
Well, it's interesting because I actually did a session last week or the week before that said actually the earlier we can start saving, then the more money we're going to have in retirement. So the session I did actually showed that if you start saving £30 a month when you're age 22, and that's the age that you automatically get enrolled into a pension plan in the UK, then by the time you're 65, that £30 a month could add up to a big pot of £30,000. Now, if you're like me, then that could be a deposit and a monthly payment on an Aston Martin, or it could be 3 cruises around the world, or it could just provide you with an income of about £2,000 a year. Now, if you didn't start saving when you were 22 and you waited until you were 30 to do that, then that pot is only going to be £22,000, for example. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that actually the sooner we can start saving, the better we're going to be once we get to retirement.
That's great. Okay, I'm a bit older than 30, as you've probably guessed. So yeah, I think my pot would be even smaller. So the message is the sooner the better. So what if you want to start saving into a pension and you're younger than 22? Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So although your employer doesn't have to pay in for you until you're 22, if you want to and they've got a pension scheme, you can ask whether you can start saving yourself. And that's definitely recommended, because if you went to a pension provider directly, you might find that getting a pension plan for yourself will have slightly higher charges than one that an employer sets up for you, because they've got lots and lots of people saving into that, so they get the economies of scale and those lower charges.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, if you've started saving into a pension, the thing I don't understand is, where does the money actually go? What happens to it?
That's a really good question, Helen. So when your money goes in, whether it's your money or your employer's money, it gets invested in a fund. And in that fund, there'll be shares from different companies, either in the UK or overseas. Now, for lots of people, we don't have knowledge of investments, and you might not feel comfortable about that. So every pension plan now has a default investment fund. So this is the fund that your money's automatically going to go into if you don't make another choice. And then the company that looks after that pension scheme monitors that fund on your behalf. So that's where it's going to go if you don't make a decision. But alternatively, most pension plans now have a whole range of investment funds that you can choose from. So if you're happy to read through the fact sheets, find out a bit of information about them, if you want to, you can actually choose which fund to put your money into.
Okay. So if a pension is just another form of investing, why put it in a pension pot which ties it up until retirement? Why not just invest directly?
Yeah, so that's a good point, because when you put your money in, at the moment, if we were retiring today, you can't actually get your money out until you're 55. Now that is changing. So if you're going to retire after 2028, which I imagine the majority of us are, it's actually going to be 57 before we can get our money out. So why would we do that? And the reason we would do that is because the government likes to incentivise us to save for pensions. And the way they do that is through tax relief. So what they say is, any money that you put into pensions, you don't need to pay tax on, big tick. Once it's in there and you're investing that money in a fund, normally if you get investment returns on investments, you have to pay tax on that. But in pensions, you don't. So you don't pay any tax on the growth in that fund. And then when you get to retirement and you want to take it out again, up to 25% of the pot that you've actually saved, you can get out tax-free as well. So, and there are no other savings at all, like pensions, where you get so many tax reliefs. So that is the reason why this is a great place to save.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. Well, we know that you're a pensions pro. You've just proved that to us just now, but we'd really like to get to know you in a little bit more detail. So if it's okay with you, we've got some quick fire money questions. Are you up for that?
Go for it.
So Sarah, what has been your smartest financial decision?
I think it was when I was at university and I decided I would take out a credit card. Not just because I wanted to go and spend lots of money, but I actually learned really early on that if I got a credit card and if I used it sensibly, and by that I meant paying it off in full every month, that built me a great credit score. And I knew that I was going to need a good credit score for when I came out of university and I wanted to buy a house eventually. So that would be, I think that's the best thing that I've done, was learn early on what my credit score was and how I could improve it.
That is really smart, because I don't think I knew the first thing about credit scores when I was at university. Right, I'm going to ask you to hang out your dirty laundry now. So that's been the best financial decision. Can you share with us one of your big financial mistakes?
I knew you were going to say that. So I feel a bit bad about this one based on the fact of what I've just said. But when I came out of university, we weren't auto-enrolled into pensions. It was a choice at that stage. And I'd built up some student loans. And so actually, I didn't start saving into my pension until I was 30. Because I didn't feel as if I could afford it. But looking back, had I just spent £10 less a month in the pub, then probably I would have a much better pension pot saved today than I've got. So that would definitely be, that's one of the reasons I do this job, Helen, to pass on the good news, start early.
Yeah. It's really interesting that you say that you didn't start your own pension till you're 30, because in some ways that it kind of strengthens what you've said before. You know, you've been there, you've done that, you understand the implications. So while it might not be good for you, it's great for us in terms of you sharing that with us and helping us to understand the benefits of starting to save for a pension early. So final question for you. If you had one money lesson that you would like to pass on and share, what would that be?
Right, save early. Make sure you sort out your budget. because again, when I started to work and I had my pay packet coming in, you know, and I started working university as well. I was working at McDonald's at the time, and all I saw was this money, and I thought, oh great, I can spend on this, that and the other, without really thinking I've got food, I've got rent to pay for, I've got bills. And actually when I learned to do a budget, work out what I've got coming in, what I have to pay out every month, and actually work out what the difference was that I could then spend on all the fun stuff, then my financial life started getting a little bit better. So yeah, my one tip, there's loads of tools available. We've got some on our Better With Money website. Download a budget spreadsheet and fill it out, stick it on your pin board, and try and work to it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us, Sarah, and sharing, well, your wisdom in terms of your own money experiences, and obviously all of your expertise when it comes to pensions. So thank you very much. Bye.
Welcome. Thanks, Helen. Bye.